Hello everybody, welcome back to another forecast. In today's video we are going to be talking about, obviously, pretty significant hurricane that's going to be coming to the United States. So this hurricane, it's pretty obvious right now what it's doing. It basically went along this line from up here into this area. Currently, the spinning is happening right here. This will be where the eye would be at, but it sort of did really thread the needle between Cuba and Yucatan Peninsula. So it's right in the perfect condition where we thought it was going to go to make landfall in the U.S. as possibly a major hurricane. Still sort of a question on the strength of the hurricane, but we're getting a better idea by the minute. Currently pressure is 980 millibars, which is right around Cat 1 hurricane. Some I just read a thing that said it was 977 on the latest aircraft recon. So it's definitely picking up strength. As you can see, some of these towers are starting to fire back up, possibly meaning there's going to be more intensification later on tonight, which there obviously will be. Here's some of the ensembles. This just gives us an idea of where this thing could go. Right now, we're pretty sure where it's going to go. We're pretty sure it's going to go right into this region of Florida, specifically right here. So right near where Perry would be, if not just a little bit south or possibly north of Perry. But storm surge and wind impacts will be felt all throughout this side. Wind impacts will be felt basically throughout the whole state, I'd say. At least tropical storm force winds could be felt even over here on this side. So definitely a very, very big storm. And then after roughly here, it gets pretty scattered, obviously, but that's not the main concern. The main concern is really this region. This is the biggest region where we could see things. Tornado threat might be a decent deal over here in South Carolina, maybe even pushing into North Carolina. Same thing down here in Florida. We'll just have to see how it moves along. Here's another model. It's basically the same thing. This allows us to see where they think it's going to go. This model trend has it really going right towards in between here and here. So this would be sort of closer to Tallahassee than we'd like, but still have a couple models shooting it off this way. This is the what would it be, GEPS tracks, where this is the GEFS tracks. So we get more models here. This is probably more reliable than this. Intensity. So the intensity obviously is still very unpredictable in what we're only roughly 24 hours out from impact, which is insane that the spread is from Cat 4, mid Cat 4, to Category 1. This is because we are still really uncertain. We'll get a really good idea by morning. But right now, it just started to pick up intensity. I mean, it's been picking up intensity, but it's been basically we had to try and get it through this portion to get understanding, and now it's just starting to break through. So once it gets into this region, we will have a lot better of an idea of what's going on. Looking into the wind possibilities, here's storm force winds. Obviously, we have a huge 90% chance, and this is really anywhere from here up to here is obviously 100%, 100% at least. Um, but then, obviously, I think that we could probably get tropical storm force winds all over Florida, into Georgia, and possibly into South Carolina, depending on a couple of things. Little gust. Here's hurricane storm force winds. Look at this. This already has a 90% chance for a little string in the Gulf from here in between the Yucatan Peninsula and Cuba, basically almost all the way to Florida. Obviously, we will feel hurricane force winds in Florida. Right now they have it at 50%, but that's just because, uh, it's not 100% sure, but it's pretty obvious. Storm surge is probably my biggest concern, besides maybe winds felt throughout this area, but 12 to 18 feet of storm surge. This is getting bigger by every time. Uh, that's in like the amount of storm surge has been growing in this area of the last couple of times that they've looked at this. So, um, and it's insane because if it goes right into here or like sort of takes a path like this this area will be receiving probably near 18 feet, maybe even 20 feet of storm surge, which is insane amounts of storm surge for some of these regions. It's not like down here how we have endless beach, and it's not like, I mean, it's still a concern, especially for the bays, and this is a big bay. But I'm just saying, like, there are beaches down here that can take that. The beaches up here are a lot skinnier, so it's going to start flooding into roadways and possibly even into the cities if this gets bad enough. Um, and then yet we can actually see 1 to 3 feet of storm surge over here on this side of the state. 3 to 5 feet of storm surge all the way felt basically down here into the Keys, which is crazy. And then you can see the cutoff over here by Mexico Beach. This is assuming that the storm obviously goes up into this way. Um, rainfall potential. Rainfall potential. There are some scattered spots where you can definitely see 12 inches of rain, but the majority will be near Tallahassee, just a little bit south and west of Tallahassee is where they're expecting the most amount of rain. Up there, and then if the storm stalls out how it looks it's gonna, we could definitely see some flooding up there in the northeast portion of Georgia. Uh, Actually, some possibly significant. They have a couple of areas of 20 inches, so probably scattered 20 inches of rain possible throughout that area. We'll see how it goes along. And then here's what is going on currently. So we already have tropical storm force winds that have been felt throughout this whole area. And then this tiny little blob down here is hurricane force winds. Now we're expecting this to grow eventually into probably decently sized hurricane wind force field, um, and definitely pick up intensity pretty quickly. It all depends on if it does rapidly intensify because the Gulf waters are so warm right now. It's got to intensify throughout this region, and it's got to do it pretty quickly. Because if it doesn't do it quick enough, it could end up as only a category 2 or 3. But if it does it quick enough, it could end up category 3 or 4, possibly 5. 5 has been sort of ruled out, but it's not 100% gone. There's still a chance for a category 5. All depends on how fast and basically just how strong it gets. Because right now it's not too impressive, but it just started in the last 24 hours to really get going. And I feel like this one has a good enough path to at least reach category 4. Now, flash flooding potential. This is the last thing we'll look at on this site. Flash flooding potential is pretty good for this portion of Florida up here in the Big Bend, from anywhere from like Perry, Texas, over into this region, just west of Tallahassee. And then we got a big and moderate risk from basically from Tallahassee all the way up into like Knoxville area and almost near Charlotte. And then we actually have a high risk for 70% chance for excessive rainfall and flash flooding throughout this portion, which could mean we could see very great impacts depending on what happens. This might shift a little bit. This could go a little bit left. This could go a little bit east, so we could see it in either of these spots. So, last thing I really wanted to look at was of this. These are hurricane models that predict the intensity of the storms. We can actually look at the wind. So, as of right now, it is expecting it. So these are the last couple hours. So 24 hours ago, it was almost 1,000 pressure. Okay, and in the last scan, 18 hours ago, 996. 12 hours ago, 991. It really started to wrap up in intensity here. We already had some areas that were possibly hitting 72 knots of wind. 82. 6 hours ago, and now currently it has picked up decently. The wind field has already grown to hit the Yucatan Peninsula and Cuba at the same time, so it's stretched out. They expect this to now start to move gradually to the east. It's going to pick up intensity, and then here's where it really rapidly intensifies. In only 18 hours from now, they're expecting 120 knots of wind, 126, 140, 156, 158, 177. 177 knots of wind is a ton in like really, really strong wind. So this portion specifically is where it's going to possibly go according to this model. This area near the beaches will be getting impacts of very, very intense winds if this model holds true. 166, it dies off a little bit. 144 inland, So places like Perry and South Georgia could even still be seeing some really strong winds. Over there near Atlanta, definitely still could see 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. As this moves up the state, you could definitely see maybe even 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts. This model has this thing keeping an eye in strength for a while. This is into Kentucky. This is where I think it gets hazy and is definitely wrong. They're saying possibly 100-mile-an-hour wind gusts in Kentucky with this. I don't believe that's going to be possible, but and then into Indiana, like I don't think that's a possibility. But we could see a Fujiwara effect, where there's a low-level trough, and here's a hurricane. The hurricane comes in and basically sort of merges with this low-level trough, and that's called the Fujiwara effect. It doesn't do anything crazy. It's just sort of cool because it doesn't happen very often. Like the perfect events have to set up to have it happen, and it's just something that this is sort of cool. We'll look at some other models really quick as well. We'll look at HMON. This is another model. So here's 18 hours ago, and 12 hours ago, same thing. 72 knots of wind felt. Um, so lots of rainfall, well, lots of wind. Like look at the difference from here to here. In some of those areas, that goes from maybe 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts up to 90 instantly. And then, you know, currently 90 knot winds possibly. Um, they have this one rapidly intensifying again to basically 150 knot winds. This is still Cat 4 intensity. That's still bad. Then they have this obviously going into Georgia, and after Georgia gets hazy, I really don't think there will be gust of 80 miles an hour. That's crazy. In Indiana, I think that's stupid. Alright, anyway, next model. So 66 hours ago, this wasn't even a low pressure. That just shows how fast this like area of development really developed. 12 hours ago, 6. They think this is now 973, which is probably pretty accurate, which is crazy to think. They think this thing's gonna apparently lose some intensity as it gets closer to the peninsula, gain it back. Yeah, this is also a worst case scenario. 160 knot winds, although we're getting a better idea that this is going to hit right into this region, which Perry's somewhere here, Tallahassee's over here. Thankfully, Tallahassee, it's not coming directly towards you, but we'll find a little bit better of an idea within the next couple hours. Still 160 knot winds, 921 millibar pressure. Not good. And then obviously it does a little loop over Indiana, Kentucky, and Illinois. So that's apparently all models are agreeing that's going to happen. And then here's another model over the Yucatan Peninsula. 12 hours ago, they don't even have this. 6 hours. Now they think it's a 978. They think it's going to go back up as the Yucatan. It might strike and lose some strength. 947 intensifies. 930 millibar, 165 knots. And then it strikes inland and does the exact same thing with Indiana, Kentucky, Illinois. So all of these are agreeing that it's going to be strong, possibly Category 3 or 4, high-end Category 4 or Category, well, high-end Category 3 or Category 4. There we go. 12 hours ago, 6 hours ago, now they think it's a 988. This model is not really for hurricane. They think it's going to be 950, which sure could possibly happen. They think this thing is going to practically go up into Michigan. This model's not that accurate. If this somehow makes wind gusts of 70 or 60 miles an hour up into Michigan, I'd be shocked. Do I think it's going to happen? No. And then that's basically all for those. We can obviously go back to satellite imagery and look at what's happening. So we do have a little bit of dry air, not too much, so it shouldn't be an issue, but it's definitely been battling a tiny bit of that. As we see, those towers are really starting to form back up. We can actually refresh the page and see what it looks like now. Yeah, so that power. So we are starting to see this tower fire up again, and then obviously we got these ones going in. Uh, the circulation looks a lot better. The storm's a lot bigger. As you can see, there are outer bands that are already basically hitting Florida. I don't know if I call them outer bands. I think I just call it precipitation at this point, but definitely big storm, um, as you can tell. So could see catastrophic event depending on how this hits. We're still not 100% on anything. Besides, like right now, it being a Category 1, decent Category 1, almost Cat 2 already. So, already rapidly intensified for sure. Which is not a good sign, by the way. If it rapidly intensifies now, that's not a good sign for later. Uh, yeah. We have a pretty good idea that this thing should be a Category 2, like middle Category 2, by most likely tomorrow. Well, 3 a.m. tonight, but 24 hours from now, we could be seeing impacts as a Category 4 hurricane, guys. That is insane. So, make sure you're on the lookout in Florida. You could feel impacts over here in Jacksonville. So, if you're anywhere in Florida, please prepare a little bit. You don't got to do a lot. Um, Especially if you're on this side of the state, just be prepared for wind damage, power outages. If you're over there in Perry, I would definitely try and evacuate. Um, that is a very strong hurricane from what the looks of the models are saying right now. And definitely almost a record setter, depending on what you call record setting. So, definitely could be one of the strongest hurricanes in the last decade to hit Florida. It could be one of the weakest. It's still very, very unknown, but chances are this thing's going to go rogue and go Cat 3 or Cat 4 pretty quickly. Thanks you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps out a lot. And man, sorry for my voice today. My voice is just talking too much. First time back at it in a long time. So thank you guys for watching. Peace out.